there are certain things that give away the matrix and the reality that we live in as being artificial and a simulation. I've got another video which I made on the different types of reality, the simulations. There's the micro and there's the macro simulations, but they are simulations nonetheless. And one example is the lack of choice. You know, the lack of choice. I think in terms of economics, you know, we have, you know, something called perfect competition, where, you know, in the marketplace or wherever space there is, everybody can bring their own goods and services and sell them to the market, and the you know, the market sort of like just kind of like sorry, I'm just going to navigate some traffic. The market just responds and it gauges the price from that, and it's a very kind of fair and equitable system. And you can apply this to different parts of reality, you know, but we don't have perfect competition in this simulation, and the fact that we don't have it is a giveaway as to the rigged nature of this reality. So the fact that, like, when I say smartphone, right, you either have an iPhone or you have an Android. There is no other option. Okay, those are your choices, period. There's nothing else. And for me, it's like, surely, like, these can't be the best options in existence, like, ever. There must be alternatives, right? But the fact that alternatives don't exist, or nobody, like, because they're not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, right? And I know what you're gonna say, capital, you know, people can't raise the capital to do it. But this is business, and I'm sure there's some tech company somewhere that can raise the funding, or people leave these tech companies all the time. People will go and set up their own thing. You know, look at the only example I can say is, look at cryptocurrency, right? People are creating cryptocurrencies every day like this, right? Because it's a field that's not fully kind of like, it's not been fully grabbed, yeah, fully regulated by the machine, because it still has some degree of kind of freedom in it. So therefore these things exist. So when it comes to any other thing, there's no choice. Like, you only have 2 smartphones to choose from, period, and that's the end of that discussion. There's no other way, there's no other option available to you. That's it. You know, if you talk about politics, there's no other option but Republican or Democrat. You know, yes, they'll parade the Green Party and they'll have that rubbish, you know, oh, Green Party, la, la, la. They might you know, parade some racist nationalist party, blah blah blah. They will just stoke some fires here and there, but really and truly, when it gets to the nuts and bolts of it, it's the 2 parties, the leaders chosen from those 2 parties forever, right? And even when you go to countries that have like and I'm talking about the big kind of like, this on a macro level. So if we talk about the big countries, we're talking about the West, right? So it will be Great Britain, France, Germany, the United States, and stuff like that. Yeah, Germany has a few kind of like splinter parties, but they're all very much in the center of the political landscape, right? You don't have, you might have the, like I said, you might have the extreme left, extreme right. They might brandish them here and there, but really and truly, the pool is in the center. So they're only going to get chose from a very narrow field of, in terms of ideology or ideas. It's a very narrow field, right? So there is no choice, really, because if there was choice, I mean, how could you have 4 or 5 political parties that agree on pretty much, like, if we're talking about the parties in the center now, so how can you have 4 or 5 different political parties, all funded, all blah blah blah, staff, blah blah blah, but they agree on pretty much everything. So then if they agree on pretty much everything, then they are pretty much one party, but just wearing different colors and different outfits. Think about it logically. Like, if you have party X, and party X has this policy on this, but then perhaps they have like a disagreement on, I don't know, immigration or something, right? But everything else, they are in full agreement with the other parties in the center. So okay, so if we differ on this one point, surely then we can all sit at the table and just hash that out and figure it out. So really and truly, we don't differ that much. This is what I'm trying to say. So there is no choice in politics. There's no choice in technology, right? If you have a computer, you either have a Mac or you have Windows. That's it. That's what we grew up on. And now you might have, yeah, Google has its own chip, blah 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 blah. But really and truly, even the framework of how these things work is the same. This is what I'm trying to say. There is no other, like, I mean, imagine somebody creating a smartphone that hasn't got like a glass screen, like a full-on glass screen. You know, what happened to, we used to have like buttons on our phones. I'm an 80s baby and I remember that. Like, why did we get rid of that? Why did we get rid of that? Why did BlackBerry not make it through? And I remember the whole BlackBerry thing, we'll talk about it another time. It was to do with, you know, BlackBerry had a very secure system, and around the time when America was talking about terrorism here, terrorism there, blah blah blah, they wanted the back doors to BlackBerry phones. This was when everybody used to use the BlackBerry pin, the BlackBerry ping thing. And if you remember this, then you know what I'm talking about. If you never had a BlackBerry, and then that's fine too. That was the beginning of this whole instant kind of like messenger thing, because prior to that we used to text, and then BlackBerry pin came, and then from there we had instant kind of like messages, blah blah. And the way BlackBerry pin works is very close to how WhatsApp actually works. It's pretty much very similar. And yeah, we had that, and they wouldn't give the keys to the US State Department. So basically, Research in Motion, the parent company of BlackBerry, had to get squashed basically. And you know, at that time there was such a radical shift. I mean, that was the official narrative anyway, but there was such a radical shift from phones looking like the way that BlackBerries and stuff used to look like, you know, with the buttons and stuff. And after that period, everything was basically these massive like scrying glass things, you know, these black mirrors. So there is no choice, you know, there is no choice. Yes, I mean, BlackBerry and stuff, they still produce phones, but even then, you know, in order for them to compete, they have to be Android, you know. It's crazy. So you have no choice in politics, you have no choice in tech. Now, if you want to listen to music, right? Before, we used to go and buy CDs, or used to listen to different radio stations or whatever. Guess what? All the radio stations have been bought by the same company. Like Global here in the UK owns such a big share of like the radio stations, right? So essentially, even if they're playing different music, it's like it's one company that owns it. So if you think of it this way, so if you have one company that owns the contemporary 1950s radio station, one company owning the urban radio station, that one company owning the pop music station, blah blah blah, there is no choice. Do you get it? There is no choice, because where are the other pop radio stations that can compete with that station? They can't. And if you set up an illegal station like a pirate radio station, they take you off, right? The government takes you off. So the government doesn't even permit competition in any kind of sphere, right? Now you take that away. If you come to movies or whatever, you know, we used to have like Blockbusters and stuff like that. I used to go and watch movies, and you could, you know, people used to be able to download movies on what do you call that app, the Pirate Bay. We used to like rip movies and stuff like this, man. If you weren't born in the 80s, late 90s, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. But you know, so there was, you know, people had a choice of what movies they wanted to watch now, right? Now you have Netflix, and Netflix has this monopoly on the streaming kind of like landscape, right? So it's like everybody has Netflix in their home. Well, a large majority of people anyway. So basically what Netflix puts out is what most people will watch, because where is the choice? Like, where are the other movies? So if Netflix doesn't have access to, say, a movie like, say, let me give you an example. Like, if Netflix doesn't have access to a movie, then that means that you are not watching that movie, because you can't go and download that movie, because your internet service provider is not going to allow you to access that website. It won't allow you to watch it on any other streaming kind of things unless you have a VPN or you're pretty, savvy with using these kinds of things, which most people aren't. You can't just go to a Blockbuster and hide a DVD because they don't exist anymore. You can't go and borrow the DVD from your friend because they don't even make DVDs and stuff like that anymore. So there is no choice. Do you see? The same applies to music. So if you want to listen to something particular, you can't find it on Spotify or on YouTube Music or on Apple Music, you can't listen to that song. You just can't, because the radio stations are playing a specific playlist anyway. We all know that, right? And Spotify also promotes certain artists based on certain agreements that they have behind the scenes and stuff like that. We all know that. Same applies for Apple Music, and because they have artists. They have artists that they've signed. Apple Music signs artists. So you tell me, if Apple Music has a vested interest in promoting artist X, why the fuck would they promote an artist that's not signed to Apple's label over that artist? If it's suggested music, blah blah blah, the algorithm will always be geared towards those artists, and that's the game. So even in music and art and stuff, there is no choice. Now, if you want to talk about, okay, we've established that. Now let's go into like, popular culture or whatever it is. Like, again, you go on YouTube or whatever, because nobody watches TV. I mean, TV still exists and stuff like that. But again, so it's like the TV companies are owned by the same kind of company. So the content that they create is it's in line with their own ideologies, right? Which means that all the content that's produced for your consumption is content, like there's no competition in the content that you are consuming. Because where are the independent radio stations or independent TV stations or independent content creators are creating their own content? Yes, you might find some on YouTube, but again, even on YouTube, the algorithm is rigged. And if somebody's creating something really, really cool, what tends to happen? You have these vultures will come in, copy or replicate exactly what that independent person has done, promote it as theirs. The algorithm will back them, so it will get all the views and all the eyeballs behind it, blah blah blah. And then that independent thing is now not independent anymore, so there is no choice. And then now that independent thing or that independent idea in terms of content that was created, that was supposed to serve as a specific purpose or to achieve whatever aim, has now been commercialized in a way, because it's now produced by the machine or agents of the machine. So there's no choice. There is no choice. It's an illusion. You go to, like, let's go back to tech again. You want to search for something. I'll have a video on my thing about Google being fake anyway. Google's a Potemkin village anyway. Google has a set number of results and it just gives you that. It doesn't troll the whole internet. It can't do that. It hasn't got the technology to do that. Well, even if it did, it would be impossible. I mean, think about it. How could Google, like, think about the amount of Google searches per day. Think about the processing power of their servers or whatever to be able to accommodate all of those individual specific searches every day. But here's what happens. They narrow the field. So it's like, And based on people's kind, because they have a profile of you in the AI world anyway, based on your phone usage, internet usage, blah blah blah. So they generally know where you're going to search, what you're going to want to look for, blah blah blah. And they have these kind of like then the algorithm kind of, or the machine kind of finds these pre-made kind of things and then has it there, and that's what it shows to you. That's my understanding of it anyway, because I'm yet to be convinced about the processing speed of how it can do all of that in like breakneck speed and give you all those results. And then even if you get to the final page of the results, you recognize that they don't have the results, and they tell you, oh, we've removed some of these results because they weren't relevant or whatever. Like, what a load of bullshit. Like, who said they're not relevant? Like, I did the search. Like, how can you tell me what's relevant or not in my own search? You understand? So it's a complicated one. It's a very complicated one. But then, you know, it's deep, you know, because the more you think about it, the more you realize that, yeah, it's all rigged, and it's not really like you live in a simulated world. This is what I'm trying to tell you. Like, when you live in a simulated world, that's how it works. Because think of it like a video game or whatever, right? Like, you know, that somebody's created, or an ecosystem. Like, all right, think of it this way. Like, you have a pet or whatever, they live in a simulated reality. Say you have a fish from birth, the fish has never seen anything. The fish has a simulated world it lives in. Yes, so you might give the fish today, you might give it this kind of like fish food, or tomorrow you might give it this other fish food. You know, say for instance the fish has a choice and it could choose, you know, say you put the food in different boxes or whatever, but essentially it hasn't got access to actual like real world like abundant choice. It doesn't have that. It has simulated choices, like very a narrow field. And like in the Matrix, we're talking about the illusion of choice. Like, the simulation will convince you have a choice, but you don't, because you are not living in the real world. So that fish might think that it has a choice in terms of what kind of fish food it chooses to eat, but it doesn't, because it doesn't live in the real world. So it does not have a choice. The same with like any other pet or any other animal that lives in a simulated world. It's not a real world. It's not its real habitat, is it? Because if a dog lived in like the wilderness or the forest or the jungle, whatever you want to call it, it would then have real choice as to what it eats, what it wants to do, what games it chooses to play, how it entertains itself, when it goes to sleep, when it wakes up, all of that. Do you understand? So as long as you are living in that simulated reality, you cannot for 1 second think you have free choice. You don't. And that's the same, and this is what they've sold to humans as free will. People actually think they have free will, and this is like the biggest joke in all of existence. Free will, but you have to get up and go to work every day, get up and go to school. You don't have free will. If you had free will, you wouldn't have to go to school, and you'd be able to make that choice, or whoever your caretakers are will be able to make that choice for you. But guess what? If I was to make the choice for my children to not go to school, as long as I'm living within this simulated world, I could get penalized for that. So if I can get penalized for not letting my children go to school by exercising their free will and my free will, I will get punished. That, my friend, is you living in a simulation. Do you get it? Because who and why am I being punished for following my own will? Who's doing the punishing? And why are they doing the punishing? What's the purpose of the punishment? you see? It's an illusion, guys, man. It's a big illusion. If you don't get your kids vaccinated, yeah, you don't allow them to put chemicals into your newborn child. They send agents to your home to ask you, why are you not doing this? They will write you multiple letters as to why you're not allowing yourself to be injected by toxins. And they flip it and say it's for the benefit of everybody else. Like, man, bro, this is real life, man. It's real life. That's how they play. This is the game. This is the matrix. This is the simulation. People don't like that word, but this is the simulation. Why do you think the government hates? Okay, so let's go back to the illusion of choice. So I personally don't know Andrew Tate. I don't know his story very well, and I don't know his meteoric rise. I think is kind of like linked to the system, so he's not a very good example. But if anybody rises and has a mass of people behind him, they refer to that person as a cult leader. But bro, your country is a cult. Your religion's a cult. All of it is a cult. And if it's a cult, then it's a simulation. It's not. Do you understand? You know, they get you to believe in these things. It's like, again, back to the example of the pet. The animal is convinced that that's the person that owns him. You don't own no fucking, how can you own a life, man? Like, it's such a twisted, demented, dark way of thinking. Like, no, do you understand? Like, I own that pet, so therefore that pet must give me submission, or it must give me honor, it must give me this. Because think about it, right? If a person, like, if you have a dog, yeah, you have a dog as a pet, and that dog does not submit to your instructions, right? A lot of people will get that, they'll get that dog, they'll abandon that dog, or they'll have him put down or given to like a shelter or something like this, put in prison, essentially against his will. And that's what happens to humans, because if a human says, I don't want to play this game anymore, they cut you out of the society, or they'll put you in a place like a prison where they will feed you just like a shelter. They'll feed you, they'll make sure you're warm and this and that and this and that. And if your lack of submission was too extreme, they will literally kill you, just like a person. Like, yeah, man. This is real. This is real. This is very, very real. All I'm saying, it's not a joke. It's very, very real. So you have to recognize, all this stuff that we're doing, sitting in traffic for hours, wasting all our valuable time. It's all because we're afraid of non-conformity. We're afraid of making the wrong choice. Because we know they've showed us that there is a punishment for not making the right choice. Can you actually now see the walls of your prison? This is slavery, people. This is real life slavery. Do you understand? They don't need to put chains around your neck. It's a bit like 1984 versus Brave New World. I will put you in chains, but your chains will be made by yourself. You put we'll do it through your comforts. We'll create these comforts and these illusions as to things that you need, or you think you need and want, and blah 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 blah, and get you to fuck yourself that way. I mean, how many of these people in traffic right now are actually following their hearts, or following their own passions, or living life on their own terms? Very, very few. And when you decide to try and want to live life on your own terms, they say you're a rebel, you're problematic. you've lost your mind, you need psychiatric help. So they get more of the agents to jab you with more toxins to essentially get your conformity, man. Because essentially you're a wild animal that someone is trying to domesticate by force. You get it? So think of it this way, like you're a wolf, right? You know, wolves are very hard to domesticate, almost impossible. You can domesticate a lion, not to an extent. I mean, you can get a lion to do tricks in a fucking circus. You can get a bear to do tricks in a circus, but you can never get a wolf to do that. You know, and that's why when they talk about sigmas, they use the term lone wolf, because wolves have a mind of their own. A wolf is very unpredictable, and the wolf maintains its wild nature 24/7. Like, you can try and domesticate the wolf, but one day the wolf might just decide, you know what, fuck this guy, and just fucking bite your face off. That's a wolf. You know? So, think of it this way. You're basically a wild animal. Some of us are wolves, some of us are tigers, some of us are lions, but essentially we are wild animals, basically. If you're NPC, I'm not talking to you. You can switch off and go and do whatever it is NPCs do. But real sentient beings, we are wild, right? And because of our nature, because of our wild nature, you know, it's like this person, we're gonna go to the micro now. So this person is now taking you in his home and he wants you to be his pet. So it gives you a really, really cool TV, you know, a really, really nice bed. And all you have to do is just jump through these hoops, man. And you look around you and he's got loads of other pets and they're all jumping through the hoops, and you're like, oh, I better do it, because if you don't, the other pets start barking at you like, why are you not doing it, right? Like, you're weird, you're strange for not jumping through these hoops. Like, you've got all this cool stuff here, like, why are you not doing it? Because you know in your heart that, like, regardless of what they give you, that's not what you truly want. You want what you can give yourself. You want the peace in your own heart. You want what you can give yourself. You want that freedom. You want your heart to sing. You don't want any of their crap, the stuff they give you. You don't want that. That's not what you exist for. You exist for a higher purpose. You know, you exist for a way higher purpose. Right? You exist for a way higher purpose. You know it. And the person that's trying to keep you as a pet knows it too. Do you understand? So it gives you more toys and more this and more that. But this is the crazy thing, is that the more stuff it gives you, the more, like, you know, then it's like, oh, you have to, you know, you have to perform for me. You have to do it. It's almost abusive in a way. You're like, well, no, but I don't really want to do it. No, yeah, but you have to do it. You know, if you don't do it, you know, I'm gonna, you know, you might just end up like outside, and you wouldn't even have anywhere to go. You wouldn't have a home to live in. You know, you wouldn't have anything, and you'd be hungry. But you are a wild animal. You can survive. It's in you to survive. Like, you were wired that way, bro. Like, you are wired to survive. Like, shit. Look, man, some of these fucking, sometimes, let's go deep, man. Let's go deep, man. Let's go deep. Fuck it, let's go deep. Sometimes I've always worked in, like, the city, yeah, always, since like 18, 19. I'm in my 30s now, and I never understood why all these homeless people were, like, at the train station. Like, yes, I know there's a big flow of people there, so they're more likely to get help, right? Okay. But I think that those people This is where it gets really matrixy. So if you're not really like switched on to this stuff, man, close your ears, because you don't want to hear this. I think those people are placed there by the sim itself in order to act as a constant reminder for the people. Because think about it, right? Some of these people make serious money every day. Think about it. People going, some of these druggies and addicts and stuff like that, they've got like, here in the UK, they have access to shelters, they have access to like, you know, healthcare, they have access to this, they have access to that. So they have literally no reason to be outside the train station, right? And then the police or the system or the government could essentially figure out a way to get rid of these people if they wanted to. Like they could, I mean, you know, you go to like churches and stuff like that, they put these what's what I'm looking for? Sit down, I don't know, these things that make sitting down impossible. Or they put spikes there, they put bollards there, they put things there that make it impossible for people to sit there. Or they patrol the area, because if you go to the city of London, right, they have, you know, people that patrol and make sure that you don't have people loitering about and stuff. But then it never happens outside the train stations. Now, before you say I'm crazy, let me break it down for you and show you that what I'm saying actually has some mileage in it. Let's think of another place where you see a large influx of people day in, day out. Shopping centers, malls, shops, like big shops, like big Sainsbury's, big Tesco's, blah, blah, blah. Yes, you might get the odd beggar here and there, but you don't get that many, really. They could be loitering in the car park and say, look, because there's a large inflow of people as well. So they could be doing that because it's a large inflow of people. Yes, there's the potential of them being moved on. Yes, which can also happen outside the train station, right? Yeah, because it's property owned by a group or whatever, and they can decide who stays or who doesn't stay there, right? True or false? True. So on that basis, it's obvious. It's artificial. It's artificial, man. It's artificial. It wouldn't even surprise me that they're like this way it gets really matrixy, but you know, once you're on this journey, you know, nothing really surprises you anymore. It wouldn't even surprise me that these people are paid to do this. They're like a reminder for the worker. If you don't do, you might end up like these people, man. You gotta be careful. You might end up like these people begging for money and, you know, ooh, strung out on drugs and stuff. Ooh, it's a myth. There's nothing true about it. There's nothing real about it. It's all fake. It's bull crap. Do you understand? It's totally fake. Do you understand? There is no choice, man. There is no choice. The reason why you have rich people living not too far from poor people or poor neighborhoods, again, it's a reminder. You know? It's a reminder. It's a reminder. You know? Because airlines could even easily divide your fleets into, right, this is our business fleet and this is our economy fleet. So our business is, you know, business class passengers only, you know. But they don't do that. They mix the people together so that you can, they as a reminder, they make people recognize, oh, you're less than, you're this, you're, you know, it's all part of the simulation. It's all artificial. Or look at the rewards you can get if you're, you know, if you're this or if you're that, or if you're this or you're that, or and it gives people something to aspire to. Oh, like, you know, I want to travel in business class one day, and you know, yeah, so you know, I've got to play the game. I've got to jump through these hoops, man. You know, one day, maybe now after 1,000 years, I'll be able to afford a £15,000 ticket to Let me tell you something, and I've flown in business class many times. I tell you this, to fly in business class, if you think you're gonna work your everyday 9 to 5 job and be able to afford a business class ticket, you are totally out of your mind. Unless your company is paying for you to go, bro, the chances of you actually accessing that amount of money to fly business is a dream. Let me just put it out there. So they give you the wrong aspirations. You know, they show you the footballer. Oh, look, the footballer, he's earning £1 trillion, you know, just for playing football. Oh my God, like I wish I could be him. So, you know, it's like they show you, oh, look at this person. They you know, they're playing the game nicely, and look at their rewards, and it's all part of the game. It's all part of the sim. It's all part of the simulation, man. None of it is real. None of it is real. I tell you why it's not real, because the footballers don't even earn that much money. They don't. That's not their take-home pay. That is not their take-home pay. Let me tell you that now. I've got friends that are like in that industry. I'm telling you now, they don't have. That's not what they take home. Whatever country they play for, a lot of the money goes back to the state anyway, because a lot of it's taken in taxes. And why do you think Ronaldo is playing in Saudi Arabia? Like, what's the point? You know? Yeah, man. A lot of the money gets taken anyway, and they're like, it's all a big show. Like you know, you don't even own your image. You don't own rights to your image. You can't just go and do this. You can't just go and do that. You can't just wear these clothes. You can't just go here. You can't just be seen with that person. You don't even belong to yourself. Let me tell you that. Like, that's just the reality of it. You don't even belong to yourself. That's the black and white of it, man. That's the black and white of it. You don't even belong to yourself. I'm just gonna go this way, man. There's so much traffic today. It's unreal. It's crazy. You don't even belong to yourself. It's a myth. All of this is a myth. It's a fake reality you live in. Because in what reality where humans with beating hearts and souls would permit people to be homeless, whilst a footballer gets paid £1 trillion? Oh yes, he sells jerseys and he sells football games and stuff. Have you seen the ratings of sports recently, especially after lockdown? People don't give a fuck about sports anymore. Like, most people have woken up. No one cares. Look at the stadia. They're empty. They're literally like, there's giveaway tickets and people still don't care to go. Like, nobody cares about this stuff anymore. Do you understand? So regardless of how many jerseys you can still, like, regardless of how many jerseys they're selling, like, they're employees, they're high-level employees of whatever organization it is. So that's their pay. That's their pay. That's all it is. That's their pay. Because they do other things outside of the football thing, and you know, they use their images to sell loads of stuff and do loads of stuff and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's all a big show, man. It's all a big show. Honestly, you need to really, really open your eyes to it. We live in a simulated reality, man. Because there is no way that there's no world where it makes sense for someone to be hungry while someone gets paid £1 trillion for playing football. It doesn't even make sense. Like, I'm trying to go this way. Go to the services, you know. You know, it's all a big game, people. You know, and I just wish that people will open their eyes to see it. And I hope that with some of the examples and stuff that I've said will kind of make it clear to whoever's listening, for you to recognize what this actually is. You know. It's a big simulation, you know. The price of, you know, food is going up, price of fuel, utilities, everything. Like, all these things are going up at the same time. Yes, inflation, blah, blah, blah. But inflation is the government carrying out a fraud on you. Don't you get it? Like, the government's printing out more money so they can pay their debt, right? It's printing out more money that it doesn't have. So what happens is you have a lot more money supply in the system, which makes everything expensive. And that's why a lot of these jobs, okay, so now we're gonna go really deep actually, because a lot of these jobs that people have are actually not real jobs. Let me tell you that now. They're just like job creation schemes. Like they're just schemes to basically get rid of the money, the extra supply of the money. Trust me, that's how the system works. Like if you don't understand this stuff, like look into it. Don't believe me. I don't need you to believe me. I need you to just look into it and think for yourself. Like, think of it this way. The government goes to print an extra £1 trillion, which is what causes inflation, right? Okay, now, how are they going to shift that £1 trillion to the people? How? The only way the government can do that is by creating these artificial jobs and paying people. Oh, so we're going to pay someone to sweep the road, and then we'll pay someone to check to see if the road is swept, and we'll pay someone to make sure that the person checking the road, checking to see if the road is swept, has done his job. Then that's how you get the money out. That you get you pump the extra money supply into the system. That's how you do it. That's how you do it. And a lot of these people have meaningless jobs, pointless jobs. They're just doing nothing. I remember I was reading this article once. It was in Germany. It was like, I think it was a study on how inefficient. Like we'll get to another point, please. Like I need to make a note of this of waste. And how governments create basically create waste. So in essence, you have this weird concept of like how governments are inefficient. You know, all these things like, you know, these different programs. Oh, we're going to have a diversity person. We're going to have a health and safety person, a health and safety team. And yes, I'm not saying those things are not required, but all you need is a policy. All you need is a policy. Okay? All you need, let me say that one more time for those in the back. All you need is a policy. You don't need a team. You don't need a team to basically look after health and safety. For what? You just need a policy, right? Guys, if you're going to do this, you need this. If you're going to do that, you need this. If you want to put this outfit on, do this, do that, do this, do that. That's it. That's your health and safety. That's how you do it, right? But you don't need to actually like pay people to have entire teams doing that. It's dog shit. It doesn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. Oh, can you hear the people are literally going crazy, just sat in traffic. I'm on the hard shoulder, because why? Because I'm not a robot. I'm not a robot, bro. So you're on this ride with me. Yeah, we're brave souls. We do what we feel. Fuck all that. Anyway, yeah, I need to actually stop at the services. Yeah, so where was I? Yeah, so the government creates these fake artificial things, right? You know, oh, you must have a this. You have to create a this. You know, we have to have this a new check for your vehicle, a new this for that. All those things are schemes that create extra layers of unnecessary bureaucracy. You know, so yeah, the job creation scheme thing is a real thing. It's a real thing. Trust me, it's a real thing. You know, the government just hires tons and tons and tons of people to do basically nothing. You know, and they all get paid like really good salaries and stuff like that. And then now you have more people with money chasing the same goods and services input in the system. That's how you have inflation. If you don't know, that's the basic kind of understanding of inflation. So that's why things are expensive, because if you think of a fictional market and you have a bag of rice which cost £10, right? And now basically, due to these job creation schemes, amongst other things, right, you have, say before there were 10 people that had money, you know, the farmer, the policeman, the postman, blah, 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 whatever, right? Okay, cool. Now you have 50 people with money. Now, you have, instead of 10 people chasing, and like I said before, in perfect competition, which is like a type of market system. Oh shit, wrong pump. Fuck. Like perfect competition, which is a type of market system, which is a then the price of goods and services gets dictated by the amount of people, the amount of money, inside the amount of, like, sorry, I got distracted. The price of things will be dictated by what people are willing to pay for it. Yeah, because you have 10 people, they all have money. Now, what are they willing to pay for a bag of rice? It settles at £10. That's how it works. Now, if you have 50 people wanting this product, this bag of rice, walk with me now, 50 people wanting this thing. Now, what are these 50 people willing to pay for it? Now, the price will naturally go up. That's how inflation works. That's it. Because where did the people get extra money from? Because the government went and printed more money, basically defrauding you and basically impoverishing you, making things expensive for you. Because the government should not have any right to print money without consulting the people first. It's like minting coins. Like, say we're all spending gold coins, and the government decides to now mint gold coins with copper. Half copper, half gold. It looks like gold anyway. They're not going to know the difference. Now there's more money in circulation. Now things become more expensive. They've stolen money from you. So if you had 1,000 gold coins under your bed, now those 1,000 gold coins are now worth half the value of what it was, or a tenth, or whatever it is. This is how the system works, man. Anyway, this has gone on. This is a long one, but yeah, I hope you